It might not seem like it, but there are several details about the lives of the characters in Peppa Pig that are never directly stated, yet they are present throughout the series. Do you have any idea about the hidden backstories in this show? The Lion family's divorce. In the episode Lorenzo Lion, Peppa becomes friends with Lorenzo, the son of Mr. Lion, who lives at the zoo with his father. So far, everything seems normal, but one specific line from Lorenzo completely changes what we thought about this family. He reveals that he has two bedrooms, one at his father's house and another at his mother's house, revealing that his parents live in separate homes. Peppa even visits Lorenzo's other bedroom at his mother's house in that same episode, which proves that he was telling the truth, and that means one thing: Lorenzo's parents are separated, so he lives the life of a child with divorced parents, just like many fans of the show, who now have a character they can relate to. And remember, this is just one of the 11 backstories you probably never noticed in Peppa Pig. Get comfy and come with us, because another Cinewave is about to start. The wealthy sheep family. Susie Sheep has been Peppa's best friend since the two of them were newborn babies, but even so, we still don't know as much about her family as we would like. However, there is more than one clue suggesting that the Sheep family has much more money than anyone might imagine. Seriously, her mom might actually be rich. Anyone who has taken a closer look at Susie's family will notice that the girl lives only with her mother, without the presence of a father. In other words, Mummy Sheep is probably the only one supporting the family. Even so, their house is quite large, with 3 bedrooms. One for Susie, another for Mummy Sheep, and another for Granny Sheep, plus an attic. It's almost the same size as the original pig house, meaning the version from before the renovation that happened around the time Evie Pig was born. We don't know what Mummy Sheep's job is, but it certainly must pay very well. And this becomes even more evident in the episode Granny Sheep Moves In. During this episode, Granny Sheep says she wants to make something, and Susie tells her she can just buy something and that it's easy. She just needs to click the button on her mom's computer. A child only talks like that when their parents allow them to buy things online, something that no adult who needs to worry about money would allow. So yes, Mummy Sheep probably has money to spare. Magic. Most of the time, Peppa Pig episodes deal with very normal subjects: playing, discovering new things, learning lessons, everyday adventures, nothing too unusual. However, some episodes explore the supernatural side of Peppa's universe and make something clear that few of us think about very often. Magic and the supernatural actually exist in this show. We are reminded of this in the Christmas episodes where Santa Claus appears, since we even see him flying over the town in his sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. We also can't forget the episode where Peppa puts her tooth under the pillow and it gets collected by the Tooth Fairy, or even the many times that Super Potato appears on the show. He is not just a regular TV host, because he has already demonstrated several times that he can fly and that he is super strong, just like Superman. Supernatural beings with superpowers exist in Peppa Pig, but we don't know exactly where they come from or how they really work. Grandpa Pig the criminal. Mummy Pig's father has always shown himself to be a great-grandfather to Peppa and George, but believe it or not, his youth seems to have been quite violent, and maybe even criminal, or at least that's what certain moments suggest. Grandpa Pig says he used to be a sailor when he was young, and we do believe that is true, but one flashback has already shown that he was also a biker. In this flashback, we see the young Grandpa Pig riding a motorcycle and wearing a leather jacket, while the young Granny Pig sits right behind him. What we see here is a very passionate couple, but that is only the story they told Peppa. Grandpa Pig must have been young during the 1960s and 1970s, and during that time, biker gangs were extremely popular. It's not a rule, but since Grandpa Pig lived that biker lifestyle, there is a real possibility that he may have been part of a motorcycle gang and committed crimes along with them. His career in the Navy probably only began years later, after Grandpa Pig had regretted his past actions. That could explain, for example, how he suspected that Mr. Fox wanted to steal his chickens when he saw him near his house at night in the episode Night Animals. So tell us, what is your favorite Peppa Pig backstory? Comment below with #story and share your opinion so we can read it. Aunt Dottie. The episode where Peppa meets Aunt Dottie was more than amazing, because meeting new members of the pig family is always a very welcome surprise. However, it almost feels like Dottie was invented just for that episode, which isn't true. Even though this was her first appearance, her existence in Peppa Pig had already been confirmed more than 10 years before she actually appeared. This happened in the episode Horsey Twinkletoes, where Peppa receives a present from her aunt who lives in another country, Dottie, and that is basically all that is said about her in this episode. She is Peppa's aunt who lives abroad. We didn't even know which of Peppa's parents she was related to the point that many people believe Dottie was Daddy Pig's sister. Hearing loss. One of the most surprising revelations in Peppa Pig was that George has moderate hearing loss. He can hear, but with difficulty, and he needs needs a hearing aid in order to hear properly. Almost everyone knows this now, but have you ever stopped to think that George had hearing problems for a long time and we just didn't notice before? For a long time, this trait of his was simply another hidden backstory. During most of the show, George spoke very little, often limiting himself to saying only "dinosaur" in response to whatever someone said to him. At the time, almost everyone thought George simply loved dinosaurs and hadn't learned to talk very well yet. Now we know the truth. Because of his hearing loss, George sometimes didn't hear what people were saying to him and would just reply "dinosaur" because he had no idea what to say. George's condition had always been present in the series as a hidden detail. We just didn't notice it until much later. Susie's father. We mentioned that Susie does not live with her father. Only she, Mummy Sheep, and Granny Sheep live in her house, and that detail also seems to tell a hidden story about Susie's family. After all, something must have happened for Daddy Sheep not to be present, and there are several possibilities. He and Mummy Sheep may have divorced, or Daddy Sheep may even have passed away. The latter makes quite a bit of sense, since he is never mentioned, almost as if it were a forbidden subject in the Sheep family. Another possibility is that Daddy Sheep is working in another country, which would explain many things. If Daddy Sheep has a very good job at some multinational company, that would explain both why he is not around and why the Sheep family seems to have so much money. Most of the income could be sent by Daddy Sheep from abroad.
Daddy Pig's sister. Remember when we talked about how many people theorized that Aunt Dottie was Daddy Pig's sister? That theory was disproven after it was confirmed that she is Mummy Pig's sister. But fans didn't believe that idea for no reason. There was actually a good explanation behind it. In his office, Daddy Pig has a picture frame with a black and white photo of two little piglets, one that looks a lot like George and another that looks a lot like Peppa. But it doesn't make sense for those two in the photo to be his children, because the image is black and white, indicating that it is an old photograph. It is much more logical that the little pig in the photo is Daddy Pig himself when he was a child. In that case, who would the little girl next to him be? That question led to the idea that the piglet might be a possible older sister of Daddy Pig. People once believed she was Dottie, but since that is no longer the case, why has Daddy Pig's sister never appeared? Are they estranged? Did she meet some tragic fate? We don't know, but we hope the truth will be revealed one day.
Don't forget, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our videos. A crush. The wedding of Mr. Bull and Mrs. Cow was one of the most beautiful events in Peppa Pig, and proof that even though time seems to pass very slowly in this universe, the characters do gradually evolve. But did you know that long before he fell in love with Mrs. Cow, Mr. Bull had another crush? He was in love with Madame Gazelle, Peppa's teacher. This is never stated completely clearly, but you can notice it when you start putting the pieces together. He often appears near Madame Gazelle's school, even though he doesn't have any children studying there, and doesn't always have something to fix around the building. That's when fans began to notice that he seemed to have a little crush on Gazelle. He even agreed to be the class's substitute teacher when Madame Gazelle had to go to the dentist, even though the request came completely out of nowhere. Only someone who is in love would do something like that. Madame Gazelle doesn't seem to have returned Mr. Bull's feelings, but it's nice that he eventually managed to win Mrs. Cow's heart. Ex-husband. Speaking of that, Mrs. Cow herself also seems to have had a relationship with someone else before falling in love with Mr. Bull, and the living proof of that may be Carol Cow. This mysterious character is a background extra who appears in a few episodes, but the interesting detail is that in some appearances she is walking alongside Mrs. Cow, which started theories that Carol is actually Mrs. Cow's daughter. But here's the thing, Carol is a girl around Peppa's age, and she had already appeared long before Mrs. Cow became a couple with Mr. Bull, meaning there's no way she could be their daughter together. If Mrs. Cow really is her mother, then it would mean that Carol may have been the result of a previous marriage that ended some time ago. The wealthy pig family. We questioned how much money the sheep family might have, but the pig family also raises its own questions when it comes to money. In fact, we have many more reasons to believe that Peppa's parents are rich, and we don't even know where to start. Recently, they renovated their house and made it huge, but Peppa and George have always been surrounded by lots of toys. The pig family also travels quite often to other countries, and international trips cost a lot of money. And that's without even mentioning that Evie was born in the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital in London. Just to give you an idea, this is the same maternity ward where the oldest grandchildren of King Charles III were born, and it is an extremely expensive place that is practically reserved for celebrities. So yes, the pig family has a lot of money, and it makes sense. Besides Daddy Pig being a very famous and successful engineer, Mummy
Pig is a children's book author. If her books have sold many copies, it makes perfect sense that the family would have all that money. Enjoying it? Then click one of the 2 videos we left on the screen and keep going with us. See you next time!